In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about digestive distress, why you're getting it, the most common issues in eating disorder recovery, and how to overcome them. At this time, it might be that most or all food causes you problems, and it's impossible to avoid all your triggers. In fact, it's not possible to do recovery while avoiding all triggers because you'd be eating nothing. So why is it that your body acts so aversely to having food in its system? Well, firstly, your intestines have slowed down their movement so that food doesn't leave the digestive tract as quickly, so that maximal nutrients can be absorbed from the food. And this is a survival mechanism that your body sort of carries out automatically. However, now that you start to eat more food, the intestinal movement is still really slow, causing constipation, cramping, bloating, and just general discomfort, because it takes a while for your body to adapt and to speed up the intestinal movement again. The only way to deal with this really is to keep eating through the discomfort, because if you start to restrict again, you keep your body stuck in this state. Another reason you might be experiencing problems is because the number of digestive enzymes in your body has significantly reduced because you haven't really been eating a variety of food or sufficient amounts of food. And keeping these enzymes high is not really your body's priority, plus it's just not really necessary if there's not that much nutrition going through your body on a regular basis. During recovery and refeeding, this may cause some organs to malfunction, digestion to slow, and food to occasionally pass through undigested, which means it will probably ferment later on in the large intestine, and this can cause bloating and gas. Again, reintroducing more food on a regular basis is the only way around this. As with the enzymes, the hydrochloric acid concentration in your stomach has been significantly reduced. So when you increase your intake, again, your stomach doesn't at first produce the required amounts of hydrochloric acid to break down the food. This obviously has a whole range of digestive problems that it carries with it. Thyroid functioning is also suppressed, reducing overall energy expenditure, which is your body's priority when it is in starvation mode. Now that you're eating more again, it takes a while for the thyroid function to get back to its optimal level, and obviously your thyroid is responsible for your metabolism, which at first will be suppressed. However, if you feed yourself sufficiently, you will be able to overcome bloating and constipation and all these other digestive problems as fast as possible. In addition to this reversible damage, other hormones and organs are also suppressed, and this is obviously also reversible, but it does cause some initial issues with your digestion and absorption. For example, the inner surface of your intestines and your stomach may be damaged from lack of adequate protein, and as a result, your body metabolizes the muscle of your intestines to meet its protein needs. This causes initial distress when you start to eat more again, and your stomach in fact shrinks because it gets used to these smaller portions and it simply needs to stretch out again. And I realize that sounds really scary, but it's a normal process. It's just something that takes a little bit of time, and it causes your initial hunger fullness cues to be a little bit messed up, which is why in a previous video I recommended meal plans in the initial stages of recovery. In addition to these physical problems and suppression of hormones and enzymes, etc., you also experience a certain degree of psychological distress in recovery. So not only is the increased food intake causing digestive issues, it's also causing mental struggles and a lot of mental stress. And stress in turn has been linked reliably to IBS type symptoms. The main thing to focus on, I think, is to keep eating and to reduce stress. This also means not focusing too much on which foods you think you should eat or shouldn't eat to fix your digestive troubles. Make sure to meditate, have some me time, take a bath, wear comfortable clothes, and stop weighing yourself every day. Stop body checking, stop engaging in the behaviors that are only going to stress you out more. And again, do not try to avoid certain foods. Elimination diets are the last thing you want to engage in. So Unless you were diagnosed with gastrointestinal illnesses before your eating disorder, do not fall into this trap. And let me just put a really quick disclaimer here. There is such a thing as secondary lactose intolerance. So because the digestive system has been put through excessive stress during the eating disorder, it may temporarily stop producing lactase, the protein needed to break down lactose. And for this reason, it might be helpful to avoid some dairy products, replace them with soy products or with oat milk or other non-dairy alternatives. But this is just temporary, because if you were not lactose intolerant pre-eating disorder, you will not be lactose intolerant afterwards. Also, if you do find yourself having to avoid dairy products, do not use this as an excuse to just limit your intake, because there's soy-based ice creams, there's coconut-based cheeses. There's no need to avoid facing your fear foods. Now that we know all the reasons for digestive distress, let's get around to some of the fixes. First, eat diversely, because your gut flora needs it. 2, eat sufficiently, because your intestines and the intestinal movement needs it. And 3, eat regularly, for pretty much every other ailment. Do not fall into the trap of avoidance and restriction. First and foremost, starvation and malnutrition need to be reversed. So eat, eat, eat. If you experience uncomfortable symptoms and subsequently try to restrict your food to reduce these symptoms, it's only going to perpetuate them. You need to face them. You'll have to eat even when not hungry. You'll have to eat even when you're constipated or bloated or just feeling less than optimal. You will have to stop compensating and restricting and using laxatives. And I know that following this advice will make you feel uncomfortable sometimes, but it's definitely worth it in the end. One quick note on laxatives as well is most laxatives on the markets, even the ones that are more natural, are stimulant in nature, which means they stimulate the intestines to contract and move stool along more quickly. But although you may think this can be helpful, it really isn't, because over time, using these laxatives will make the intestines themselves lazy and reliant on the medication, and then it will just be much more difficult to get off them. So stick to your meal plan, eat sufficiently, gain weight, and make your body trust you again. This alleviates constipation-style issues and also helps re-regulate your hunger cues, both of which are really important. It's also easier for you to digest smaller, more frequent meals, so spaced 2 or 3 hours apart, as opposed to having just 3 square meals in a day, because it's just less taxing on your digestion. It also helps stabilize blood sugar levels, which stabilizes mood and appetite. It may prevent food binges later in the day and reduce stress and decision anxiety. And I think all of these factors are probably equally important. So if you're thinking about skipping a meal or skipping a snack, don't let the eating disorder win. And also making sure you drink sufficiently is really important, because fluids are essential to move things along. And I have found in my recovery that especially, well, just water, but also peppermint tea and ginger tea are really helpful, because they help soothe the stomach and they help with bloating and cramping and all these uncomfortable issues. Fizzy drinks, caffeinated drinks, and alcohol may, on the other hand, not be as helpful. Nor are sugar-free items, foods or drinks, because sorbitol and fructose are known to contribute to belly bloating, which can be uncomfortable and also quite triggering. Just a few last notes on food. I said to eat a variety, and that includes also every single food group. Do not restrict any carbs or any fats or any proteins, because they're all needed. For example, for fats, they help move the food along, and sources like avocado, for example, are great because they're not only nutrient dense and contain many vitamins such as B vitamins, which help your body get energy from the food you eat. They're also calorically dense, which your body just really needs, so do not shy away from them. Also, be sure to eat fermented foods. These help rebuild beneficial bacteria and bacterial colonies in the gut that are needed to just replenish the enzymes that you've been starving for so long. For this, you can try yogurt, kimchi, tempeh, or a whole variety of other foods. In addition to fermented foods, fiber-rich foods are really important because they help pass food through the digestive tract. Maybe consider adding soluble fibers such as oatmeal, but also have whole grain pastas or rice, breads. Certain breakfast cereals are quite good as well. And obviously fruits and vegetables have a lot of fiber too. However, do not overload on fiber. Don't start taking fiber supplements and eating loads of raw fruits and veggies and really freaking the body the hell out. Because although we do need fiber, there is such a thing as too much, and raw fruits and vegetables can initially be quite difficult for your body to digest, especially if these vegetables are cruciferous vegetables such as Brussels sprouts or broccoli, and they may cause a lot of gas and bloating. Introduce them gradually, and the same is true for legumes and beans. Introduce them gradually. In terms of legumes and beans, it can also be helpful to rinse them loads to get rid of the non-digestible elements and prevent breakdown in the large intestine. In terms of fruit, it might be helpful to eat riper fruits as opposed to fruit that's not quite as ripe, just because it's easier to digest. Vegetables, cook them rather than eat them raw, and again, this will help with breaking them down later. Do not shy away from processed foods either, because they tend to be easier to digest than food in its whole form. And I think it's just a really good exercise to face your fear of foods, as I always say. Anyway, my last and final tip, which I think is the most important one, is to be kind to yourself. Wear comfortable clothes, have a massage, have a bath, tell yourself some positive things every day, have a gratitude journal, and do not beat yourself up over a misstep or over discomfort or over the struggles that you simply have to go through in recovery. Be kind to yourself, avoid stress, and know that you can get through this process. Discomfort is temporary, but once you've reached recovery, I promise you can get there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new and have got some new tools to work with, some new things to try in order to improve your digestion. I love you all loads, and leave your comments below. I will see you again soon.